Hey, the other day, actually it was Wednesday, Trump had an interview with the Daily Caller, this neo-fascist online phony news website. And apparently it's caused an awful lot of questioning with his comment that an ID, he said voter ID, is needed to buy cereal. He said that on Wednesday. Jesus Christ. In the Washington Post, there were many other dubious statements in the interview, some of which the Post went ahead and fact checked as part of their database on Trump's lies. So, what I've got in front of me here is a quick roundup of Trump's most notable errors of fact in the order in which he made them. He said in this interview, quote, you know, it's very interesting. He always says that, doesn't he? It's very interesting because when you talk about not Senate confirmed, well, Mueller's not Senate confirmed. He's heading this whole big thing. He's not Senate confirmed. Jesus Christ. Well, what the ignorant savage is doing is responding to the charges that he violated the Constitution by appointing this Whitaker Nazi as acting Attorney General. The Chief of Staff post is not subject to Senate confirmation. And that's what Matthew Whitaker was, a Chief of Staff in the Justice Department. Unlike the Deputy Attorney General, who ordinarily would fill the vacancy. But there is no expectation that a special counsel would be subject to Senate confirmation, as he is what's referred to in the vernacular as an inferior officer who reports to someone who has been confirmed. For example, the former Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who had been confirmed, had recused himself. So Mueller previously had reported to the Deputy Attorney General, who also, I believe, had been confirmed. If not, he was duly appointed by Sessions. In other words, Trump's point about, well, he wasn't confirmed. It's bullshit. It's nonsensical and it's bullshit. Another lie from this Daily Caller, Trump said, quote, I'm building the wall in smaller stages, and we moved the military there. We put up barbed wire. We did all sorts of things. No, Trump's wall is not, let me repeat, it is not being built. Congress inserted specific language in its appropriations bill that none of the $1.57 billion appropriated for border protection may be used for prototypes of a concrete wall that Trump saw while he was in California. The money can be used only for bollard fencing, whatever the hell that is, and levee fencing. Trump regularly makes this false claim. At last count, he's made the false claim more than 80 times that he's building the wall. Not a fucking ounce of wall building has occurred. None of it. Another one, here you go. He said in the interview, quote, you have 17 people, many of them work for Hillary Clinton, some on the foundation, the Hillary Clinton Foundation, end quote, on the investigation team. Now, this is totally false. As the fact checkers have previously documented, five members of the Mueller team contributed to Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. One of those people, attorney Jeannie Rhee, represented the Clinton Foundation in a lawsuit 3 years ago over Hillary Clinton's use of her small email or her private email server. Aaron Zebley, a former counterterrorism FBI agent and assistant U.S. attorney, made no contributions to Clinton, but represented a Clinton aide at one point. So, in other words, no member of the Mueller team ever worked for Hillary Clinton, and only one had a connection to the Clinton Foundation. Okay, here's another lie. Quote, we've really, terminated a lot of the Obamacare, as it was referred to, end quote. Okay. The 2017 Trump tax bill, starting next year in 2019, effectively eliminates the mandate that required people to pay a penalty if they chose not to buy health insurance. Now, if you remember, there was a waiver available for people under a certain income level. But anyway, the penalty must still be paid in 2017 and 2018. So other than the individual mandate, Trump has not, quote, terminated a lot of Obamacare, end quote. Jesus Christ. Next lie. In this interview, he said, this is a problem in California that's so bad of illegals voting. This is a California problem. And if you notice, almost every race I was watching today, out of like 11 races that are in question, they're going to win all of them. The Republicans don't win, and that's because of potentially illegal votes, which is what I've been saying for a long time. So with zero evidence, Trump is saying that the slow process of counting California's mail-in ballots means that undocumented immigrants are casting votes. Now, the moron has never given an explanation as to why the late votes that are counted would be coming from undocumented immigrants. There's no evidence of any of this shit. Jesus. Now, as the fact checkers point out, voter fraud is extremely rare. Though obviously errors can be made, yeah. California's Department of Motor Vehicles acknowledged in October that 1,500 people may have been incorrectly registered because of a processing error, including at least one non-citizen. He's a legal resident, not an undocumented immigrant. The incorrect registrations were canceled before the election. One non-citizen. Here's another lie in this interview. He said, quote, I've seen it. I've had friends talk about it when people get in line and have absolutely no right to vote, and they go around in circles. Sometimes they go to their car, put on a different hat, put on a different shirt. They come in and vote again. Nobody takes anything. It's really a disgrace what's going on. Trump claims he has seen this sort of voter fraud? No shit, really? He's seen people get in line and go around in a circle and then go to their car and put on a different hat and then come back in and vote again, and nobody takes any IDs from them or checks or anything. He's seen that. He's really seen that. Maybe he saw it in a dream? Jesus Christ. You see, at least 34 states have laws requiring or requesting voters to show some form of identification at the polls. So not only would a fraudster need a new hat and a new shirt, but also phony IDs that match records of registered voters. And it's kind of difficult to imagine how such a scheme as that could be implemented on the level that President Pig insists happens All the time he's seen it. Oh my God. So here's another one. If you look at what, this is Trump talking, quote, if you look at what happened in New Hampshire, where thousands of people came up and voted from a very liberal part of Massachusetts, and they came up in buses and they voted. I said, what's going on here? And my people said, you won New Hampshire easily, except they have tremendous numbers of buses coming up. They're pouring up by the hundreds, buses of people getting out, voting. Then they're supposed to go back within 90 days. And of the people that are supposed to go back, almost none of them do. In other words, they go back after the vote is over. They go back. I think it's like 3%. I mean, almost nobody goes back to show that, that they were allowed to vote. End quote. Holy Christ. So this is another insane fantasy that has been repeatedly debunked. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office investigated this claim after complaints of out-of-state busing in 2014 and found no evidence at all that out-of-state voters were ever bused into New Hampshire to shift the outcome. Instead, some colleges in the state had hired out-of-state buses. In other words, they have license plates on them from Vermont to help ferry college students to the polls. In other words, the bus company might have been from Vermont, but not the people on the bus. So after the state asked what in-state buses he used, there were no complaints in 2016, except from the Trump White House after the president narrowly lost the state to Clinton. So the state of New Hampshire said, okay, look, if you're going to bus people in, just use buses with New Hampshire license plates, for Christ's sake. So they did. And from that point on, there were no complaints about people being bussed in, because whoever saw it and told, somehow word got up to Trump, was another one of these ignorant fucking savages who vote for Trump, who looked at a license plate and said, oh my God, look, it's from Vermont, it's from Massachusetts, it's from somewhere else, and they're all. How many times have you gone to rent a U-Haul trailer? Maybe you're going to go get some pine straw bales or whatever. So you get a trailer or a truck, and the license plate will say Wyoming, which is where the trailer is registered. Or maybe you lease a car. How often does this happen? You fly into some airport and you go to pick up your car, and you're in Washington, D.C., and the license plate on the car says Arizona. I mean, it's a normal goddamn circumstance of this country constantly on the move, being mobile. But to Trump and to the little worms who saw these buses, it doesn't compute. Oh, look, the bus has New Hampshire plates. Those must be New Hampshire residents. Eek, eek. And then Trump files it down even further and says the buses came from a very, very liberal part of New Hampshire. Yeah, the license plate said New Hampshire, and underneath it said very liberal part. What a fucking maroon this guy is. Good God. Now, Trump's little Nazi Jew, Stephen Mueller, made the same claim in 2017. And when he did, Tom Rath, the former New Hampshire Attorney General and prominent Republican, tweeted this after Mueller's comments, quote, In fact, they say in 80 years, I think, the president's party has picked up only two Senate seats. I picked up 3. I mean, assuming that they don't do any further shenanigans in Florida. Oh my God. But the little Nazi Jew, Stephen Miller, he's going to tell Trump all kinds of ugly, false shit. That's what his function is, to get Trump so agitated, so freaked out, which I'm sure is very easy to do. But this guy's Stephen Miller. I mean, what a worm he is. He's got Trump's ear. He's in Trump's ear. He probably is the most influential person in Trump's inner circle, more so than his daughter, his son-in-law. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to The Ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.